What does it mean to reparent your inner child? So I certainly know I've said it on many occasions. I talk a lot about this in my work, but for those of you that may not have heard this term before, you've probably heard that phrase, reparenting your inner child, but not really knowing exactly what that means, right? So what are we what are we talking about? Are we pretending to be our own mom? Right? Are we pretending to be our own father? Are we sitting in a corner talking to ourselves? So let's break this down because this work, in my opinion, is life-changing when we understand what it's really asking us to do, right? So the inner child is this picture of us having a younger version of ourselves that lives inside of our mind and body. It's a powerful metaphor, but it's really more than that. It's a part of our psyche that is shaped by our early emotional experiences, particularly the ones where we may have felt that our needs were not met. And it doesn't mean just physical needs. This is emotional needs. So the need to be seen and soothed, the need to play and be curious, the need to be held in our sadness, right? And not hurried out of it. The need to feel safe saying something like, I'm scared, without being told, oh, you're just overreacting. And so when those needs are unmet, or inconsistently met, then a part of us kind of breaks off in our psyche and needs to adapt. This becomes our inner child. And the inner child dims their light. Maybe they become self-sufficient. Maybe they learn that they need to be constantly scanning other people for cues on how to behave. Um, Maybe they made themselves easier to love by taking up less space, shrinking themselves, not being a burden, that kind of thing. But as we've said before, our nervous system is shaped by what it repeatedly experiences. So if our emotions were dismissed with "you're fine," or if love came through a demand for a performance instead of personal presence, or if nobody mirrored your inner world in any way, then our system adapts by downplaying these needs or amplifying anxiety to get that connection, right? So when we reparent the inner child, it means that we are making the choice now to give to ourselves now in the present moment the acknowledgement, the protection, and the permission that we didn't receive back then. And it's not about blaming our parents, and it doesn't mean we have to relive in order to revise our trauma. What it means is that when your adult self gets triggered, acknowledging that it's the inner child that's hurting. And so now we have a choice here in the present moment to respond in the ways that other people didn't, but in the way that they should have, or that we would have had them respond, right? In the ways that would feed us emotionally, and I would argue spiritually. So instead of repeating the silence, shame, or self-abandonment, and then beating ourselves up in the same way that we might have over the years, we make a choice to do something different. So if our body is flooded with anxiety, we don't dismiss it. We sit with it. We learn how to create a rubber band around that energy so that we can be present with that feeling when at any other time in our lives we would have banished the emotion. When you're feeling needy, right, which isn't really a feeling word, needy is more of an evaluation of a hunger you have inside for something. So if you acknowledge that there's a hunger or an ache coming up, don't shame yourself for it. Dive into it. Joseph Campbell had an expression, if you're falling, dive. Dive into it and listen. What is that hunger? What is that ache? What is that longing? And if your inner voice sounds critical, you don't have to obey it or take it as the God's honest truth. Instead, you challenge it and you find out, why and how do you think this criticism serves me? What do you think you're protecting me from? And you approach every part of yourself with a compassionate ear, with curiosity, with creativity, right? You become this consistent and attuned caregiver that your inner world needs, but maybe didn't always have. So that looks like setting a boundary and holding it, even if it makes you and other people uncomfortable, allowing yourself to cry, to play, to rest, to say no without letting guilt stop you. speaking up for yourself, right? Speaking to yourself with tenderness when you're spiraling, reassuring the part of you that still feels afraid that love's going to be taken away if you mess up, right? Reassuring it that love is always going to be there for you because you are connected to the transcendent part of you that is love and always was and always will be. So it's not something we do once and then we get it done. We get it, we do it once and I'm healed now. I'm over that. It's a continual process. It's an ongoing practice, right? It's just building a new relationship with yourself that's built on safety instead of survival, right? So we can't necessarily go back and rewrite the past, but we don't have to because the past is usually alive and well right here in the present moment. But and we can revisit that part of ourselves now and say things like, I see you, I believe you. You didn't deserve that, and I'm here now to hold you through it, right? So, a few questions to leave you with around this topic. You might want to think about what is one thing that your inner child needed to hear that nobody ever said? One thing your inner child needed to hear that nobody ever said. What is one boundary that you needed protected that wasn't protected when you were young? And what would it look like to offer that to yourself now? So if you can relate to this, or if this question relates or resonates, please let me know in the comments. I'd love to know, right? And also keep in mind that if you are even asking these questions, then it's likely that you're doing something that generations before you didn't know how to do, didn't even know was possible, right? And becoming your own parent in this way, in many ways, you're breaking intergenerational curses. And you're doing it for your entire soul tribe, your entire family line. And that's no small feat. So bravo for being here. Right? I hope that helps. Also, remember to subscribe and ring the bell for notifications. I put out videos once a week and I wouldn't want you to miss out.